Help me reach 2,000 subscribers. When Sarah looked me in the eyes and said, "No more touching," I froze. Her words weren't angry. Not exactly. They were quiet, final, almost clinical. But the weight behind them was undeniable. Months of subtle avoidance, cold shoulders, and half-hearted hugs had led to this moment. She had drawn a line in the sand, and I had to decide whether to cross it or walk away. I chose to walk away, not in anger, not in spite, but in quiet clarity. I packed my bag and left the apartment, the echo of her words lingering behind me like a warning. No more touching. It sounded so simple, so harmless at first glance, but I knew it wasn't about physical contact. It was about the distance she had built between us, the emotional wall she had spent months constructing, the way she had turned intimacy into a transactional, fearful act. For years I had tried to bridge the gap. Subtle touches when she wasn't looking, compliments, gestures, meant to reassure her, to remind her that I loved her, not just in words but in presence. Every time she pulled away, I respected it. Every time she asked for space, I gave it. But this was different. This was a declaration, command, and commands are not invitations. They are ultimatums. Stayed away for a few hours, wandering the streets, the city alive with the hum of normal life, unaware of the storm brewing in my own home. Called a friend, someone who had been through similar struggles, and told him what happened. He didn't offer advice. He just listened, and for the first time in months I felt a little lighter. That evening I returned, not to reconcile, but to give her the space she had demanded. The apartment was silent when I entered. "No, I missed you." "No," whispered apology, just the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. Didn't approach her. I didn't reach out. I simply sat on the edge of the couch, waiting. And that's when it happened. Her panic. It started subtle, small. Shift in her demeanor. Eyes darting, hands fidgeting, voice catching as she moved around the kitchen. She realized, probably for the first time in months, that my absence wasn't temporary, that walking away wasn't a threat. It was a choice I had made. The woman who had demanded distance, who had declared no more touching, was now confronted with the reality of what her own distance had created. Her panic grew as minutes stretched into hours. Sarah moved through the apartment like a storm, contained, picking up things, putting them down, checking rooms I wasn't in. Her eyes wide and searching. Every sound I made, a cough, the shuffle of my feet, made her startle. It was as if she had realized only now that my presence wasn't guaranteed, that the comfort she had taken for granted was slipping through her fingers. I didn't speak, didn't approach her. I simply observed. Her fear wasn't about me leaving permanently. It was about the absence of my compliance, the absence of my constant reassurance, the absence of a love she had begun to take for granted. And in that absence she discovered something I had known for a long time. She needed me more than she had admitted, and the rules she had imposed could not shield her from that truth. Her hands trembled as she finally sat down, a glass of water shaking slightly in her grip. She avoided looking at me, her chest rising and falling rapidly. "Ryan," she whispered, as if saying my name could anchor her in reality. Tilted my head, keeping my expression neutral, my voice calm. "I'm here, but I can't force what you won't allow. You said no more touching." I respected that, but respecting it doesn't mean I'll ignore it forever. Her eyes welled with tears. I didn't mean I thought I let her words fade. There was no need for her to explain, no need to justify months of avoidance. The truth was written in her panic, in her unsteady breathing, in the way she gripped the edges of the counter like a lifeline. She had created a wall between us, and now that wall was cracking, not because I had pushed it, but because she was finally seeing the consequences of her own choices. I walked slowly toward her, keeping a deliberate distance. No sudden moves, no pressure, just presence. Her gaze followed me, weary, tense, but longing hidden behind the fear. The dynamic had shifted. She realized that distance could only last so long before need demanded attention. And this time she had no control over. Finally she spoke, her voice breaking. Ryan, I held up a hand. Gesture of calm authority. No words yet. Just honesty, Sarah. That's all I need. Her panic softened, replaced by a raw, trembling vulnerability. She wasn't demanding affection anymore. She was pleading for the connection she had denied herself and us. And in that moment I understood that walking away had been the only way to bring her back. Not with force, not with guilt, but with clarity. Sarah's shoulders slumped as she sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. I didn't move closer, didn't touch her. I had learned that presence alone could speak louder than words or gestures. When someone had spent months pushing you away, minutes passed in silence. The only sound was her quiet, uneven breathing. Then, slowly she lifted her head, eyes red, glossy, fixed on me with a mixture of fear and pleading. Ryan, I didn't mean to push you away like this. Thought I was protecting myself, protecting us. Shook my head gently. No, Sarah, you weren't protecting anything. You were avoiding it. You built walls instead of sharing your fears. And the moment you said, no more touching, you didn't just push me away. You pushed yourself into realizing what you had lost. Her lips quivered. I didn't know. I didn't think. I just wanted space. I took a slow breath, keeping my voice calm, deliberate. Space is fine. But when space becomes avoidance, when distance becomes habit, the only way to get someone's attention is to let them leave, even if only for a moment. You needed to feel what it's like when I'm not there, when you can't rely on me automatically. And now you know. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time it wasn't anger or defiance. It was understanding, a quiet acknowledgement of the truth she had been avoiding. She realized that the panic, the tension, the sense of being lost without me wasn't something I had imposed. It was the natural consequence of months of detachment. I sat down across from her, maintaining the distance she had demanded, but closing the emotional gap. I'm not here to punish you, I said softly. I'm here to make sure you understand that connection, trust, intimacy, it doesn't exist when it's ignored or denied. And you just faced that reality. Sarah nodded, wiping her eyes. The panic was still there, but it had shifted into clarity. She wasn't pleading for affection anymore. She was asking for honesty, asking to rebuild what she had neglected. And that was the start. By the time the evening ended, the apartment felt different. The air was lighter. The tension softened. Sarah didn't reach for me, and I didn't reach for her. But the unspoken understanding between us was clear. Things could change, but only if she committed to honesty, to presence, to rebuilding what had been lost. Sometimes walking away is the only way to make someone see what they have taken for granted. Sometimes silence and absence speak louder than words ever could. And sometimes the panic of realizing what's gone is the catalyst that brings someone back truly, completely, and with a newfound respect for what matters.